Warning. This episode contains adult language and adult humor.
Since when have trumpet players ever been considered adults?
If you are easily offended by these types of conversations, consider switching to the oboe. Welcome to the Trumpet Gurus Hang podcast. I'm your host, Jose Johnson. My guest for this special two-part episode is Serafin Aguilar. Serafin has so much to say that we couldn't fit it all into one episode. In the first half of our hang, Serafin gave you an in-depth look into his approach to the trumpet. In this, the second half, Serafin talks about how we put those skills to work to fulfill his childhood dream of touring with his trumpet hero, Maynard Ferguson, his involvement in the smash hit Havana, and so much more. So, pour yourself a big glass, pull up a chair, and let the hang begin. So let's hop back over to the world of the trumpet.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
You've had a great career, man. You know, for as young as you is, you spent a number of years with Poncho Sanchez.
Yeah.
You were on one of the Grammy award-winning albums, weren't you?
Grammy nominated.
Grammy
The Grammy Award winning was one called Sold Out, and that one was right before I joined. That was probably the record before I joined. But then we did a live at Montreux, Bonchos live at Montreux, Bonchos Sanchez live at Montreux, and that one got picked up and was nominated. We didn't make it all the way, but we got pretty close.
No, and then
that one's a live DVD and live CD. Pulled from the DVD.
Yeah, you toured all over with that band. And then, of course, for most people, if you're a trumpet player, especially of a certain age, and I won't say what that age is,
Dusty.
Exactly. The dream of the vast majority of us was to have the opportunity to play in the Maynard Ferguson band, and you had the opportunity to do that. During the last few years of Maynard's career. Which I have to say, sometimes you say, at the end of somebody's career, and it's like, that's when they're on the shits. But I mean, he was still going strong up to the end, and but you were at that very last stage, the end of the era of Maynard, and you two had kind of a special relationship, So can you share some stuff about playing with the boss and what you learned and what your big takeaways were from your time with him?
Yeah, that was one great run that led right into him. One great opportunity led into the other. I was with Boncho for I think 3 years, and I went from Boncho to Maynard. I had got a call about halfway through my tenure with Boncho. Were to join Maynard's band, and at the time I just couldn't do it. I was just kind of getting into my own in Boncho's band, and I really loved it. And as much as I wanted to be with Maynard, economically it wasn't the most feasible thing to do because there was this big, drastic disparity in the pay between Boncho and Maynard. So I didn't take the call. I respectfully declined it. But once I left Boncho's band, I was approached again by, and I owe him everything, because he persisted. But Adolfo Acosta, both times, he was like, listen, this might be Maynard's last tour. If you ever wanted to do it, this is your last shot. You need to make a decision. And when he put it to me in those terms, I didn't ask. I just said, okay, just give me a little bit of time. I just need to work a little bit, make some money, because the reality is that you didn't do Maynard's job because you were going to get rich, right? You were either in it for the love or because it was your first touring band.
Yeah.
And I was in it for the love of him and his music and what he stood for. So I said, just give me a little bit of time and let me get my ducks lined up, because I already had kids and responsibilities, so I needed to make sure that all of that was taken care of before I left. So like that, I could rest easy, because there was no way I was going to make enough money to cover my nut month to month if I just went right then and there with what I was making with Maynard. So that's what I did. I sent in my audition to Ed Sargent via Adolfo, and we spoke, and he was like, "All right, you got the job." Probably the only audition I've ever done in my life, to be honest with you. I think I did one other one, and I crashed and burned, but that's why I don't like auditions. I hate auditions. Just let me play. This showing off in front of a panel, whatever. Not my thing. I'm not good in those situations. But anyway, so I send in my CD or my MP3, I forget what it was, and they said, "Come on down." They sent me a ticket. I went over, flew over, and I got to the airport. It was Rhode Island, I believe, was the first show. Woonsocket, Rhode Island, if I remember correctly. I got there. It was a small airport, and I just kind of see other people that look like musicians, kind of everybody floating in. And I'm a quiet guy. I don't really talk to many people, especially if I don't know them. So I just, put my head down. And I got to the hotel. Same people followed me. I was like, oh, okay, I guess we're on the same thing. And as I was getting there, Ed Sargent came up to me. We talked, and he's like, "Hey, listen, the boss wants to talk to you. Wants to have dinner with you. Can you meet us for dinner in about an hour?" And he says, "Don't worry, dinner's on us." So, okay, I'm not going to say no to a free meal. So, typical musician, right?
Absolutely.
So, went, put my stuff up, got dressed and came down, and I met them, and Patrick was there with them. So it was the three of them, Ed, Maynard, and Pat. And, they asked me, "Well, what do you want?" So it was a nice hotel. And I looked at the menu, and I said, "Well, let me get the steak here and some vegetables and potato." And Maynard immediately cackled. "Yeah, he's one of us. Yeah, you're gonna get along real great with us." Yeah. Well, yeah. And I kind of looked at him, because in your head, we all know that voice, even though we might not have heard it in person. We all know it.
Yeah.
Somebody's done it. So it's like, wow, I get to actually. I just started laughing. I go, "Thank you. I look forward to it." And that was kind of the beginning of our friendship. We just hung out and just joking around. They wanted to get to know me. Pat was the lead player, so obviously he had some interest in finding out who I was and what my intentions were, so to speak, right? And, I made it clear that I was there to work, because that's what I am, as a workhorse. I'm a soldier. Always have had that mentality. I'm not trying to be a star. I get paid to do certain things, and that's what I do, and that's that. Whereas other people might come in there with a different mentality, which is what my understanding was, why the need for him to be there to kind of feel me out.
Mm-hmm.
So I made it clear, "No, man, I'm here to support you. I'm playing second. Whatever you need, I got you." And that's that. And he's like, "All right." And we got along great. And then Maynard too, and Ed, and they just felt me out, and we had a couple of drinks and enjoyed ourselves, and then we went on our merry way. Next morning, got on the bus, boom, let's get out, and that was it. And we got to that first venue in that little town, and I remember we did our sound check, and great sound check, read through the charts. I can read pretty well, so being in LA, you have to be able to read. You can't make a living here without being able to read. So I went in there and I read the book down. So we only did one run through, really, just to kind of get everybody on the same page. And then we had dinner. We did the show. And out comes Maynard, and he starts playing, right? We're doing Opened up with Bluebird Land, and then the next one was going to be Dr. Fox PhD. Wow, I can't believe I still remember these songs. And then we went into what is that? Frame for the Blues.
Yeah.
And then we got to Frame for the Blues, and Maynard starts soloing, and he kind of stops, turns around, and looks at me and goes, and I was like, I didn't do anything. I stayed put. And hey, Stockton, the boss talking to you. And he looks at me and he jabs me with his drum. So he goes, "No, stupid, he's talking to you." It's like, me? Why? Because he wants you to go up there and solo with him. I looked at him and I go, "You crazy?" And in my head, it's like every possible worst scenario is like, "Oh my God, I'm going to fall on my face." It's not like I suck, but it's, it's somebody who you idolize, and it's
Right.
like, they didn't even tell you, that this is what they wanted. Well, as most of you know, Maynard if he's not on the road, he's not touching his horn. He won't touch it. And especially during the summer, never, he will not touch it. So they were coming off of a long break, and he hadn't touched his horn the whole time. So it was the first few shows, Maynard would pace himself, would just beat himself up until he got back on the horse and got the muscle memory back, and then he was good to go. But that night, he wasn't feeling himself, and he really just wanted to put me on the spot and see what I would do. So between the two things, like, come on. And so I walk over there and I said, "What do you want me to do?" He goes, "You take the next one." Yeah. So he goes and he does one chorus, then I do my chorus, and then he comes back in. We start trading, and then we go nuts at the end. And we kind of looked at each other like two long lost brothers or something. It was just the oddest thing, We just looked at each other like, And Maynard he was used to everybody being very reserved and yes, and or this, or whatever. I don't know, do all that stuff. But with me, I was just so happy. It's like I can't explain it. It was like this elation to be able to finally be on stage with him, and to it was like a prophecy fulfilled, because when I was a kid, I was 14 in high school, and I had just got to high school, 9th grade. And the guy that reminded me, I can't believe you remember this, but back then in our age group, we had something called cassettes. I don't know how many people out there still know what a cassette is, but so the guy was like, one of the guys in the trumpet section was like, "You think you're bad, right? Here." And he laid a tape on me, a mixtape of nothing but Maynard stuff. And it messed me up.
Yeah.
Messed me up. Because I didn't know that the trumpet could sound like that. I grew up listening to great trumpet players, because of Latin music. There's amazing trumpet players in Latin music. Victor Paz, Chocolate, Chapotin. There's all this. It's not like there's not great trumpet players, but what Maynard does is just something completely different. So I'm just so elated to. Oh, sorry, getting back to that. So I listened to the tape, and I just I looked at the tape. I said, "One day I'm going to play with this man." I was 14 years old. I just heard him for the first time. I said, "One day I'm going to play with this man." So I mean, it was just this whole broad spectrum of emotions. I get there, and now I have dinner with him, and I'm joking with him, and now I'm on stage with him, playing in his band, and all of a sudden now I got a solo with him. What the, and it's like, and even though he had not played for a while, he didn't pull any punches. He was going for the jugular, which I loved, because we would go, and I think that's why he liked me so much too, because everybody was timid around him. And I was like, "No, man, I'm here to play. You're one of my idols. I want to get down with you."
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? I'm not going to waste this opportunity I'm here, and now I have this chance to really get to bond with you and make music with you. I'm going to take the bull by the horns. So he did his chorus, and I did my chorus. Then he did 4, and he started going for it. And I kind of looked, and I was like, "Oh, here we go." And I went for it too, and he went for it. And before you know it, we're just we're just going for it hard. And it was just like, at the end of it all, I just exploded inside. I was just so much emotion. So I just grabbed him and I hugged him. And he kind of looked at me like a little shocked, and he hugged me right back. And that was like that every night. Every night we do a show. We try to outdo each other. Not in a pissing contest kind of way, but it's just like two friends were hanging out and like making music and just trying to see what the other guy could do.
Yeah.
And that's what we would do every night. And every night it was just a big, huge hug because we were just so happy to do it together.
Yeah.
That's how the friendship and the relationship developed, was from that first night. I didn't back down.
Yeah.
I didn't back down. And like I said, it wasn't from an egotistical standpoint. It's just that this was a once in a lifetime opportunity, and I would be a fool to not take it.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to make sure that you're leaving it all on the table
Every time. And because he would too. Even if he didn't feel good, even if he's like under the weather, or he was just, his age and whatever physical ailments he had, he would sometimes, like barely like get off stage because he was so beat up. But when the trumpet was in his hand, forget about it. He was 20 something years old again.
Yeah.
You see the fire in his eyes immediately. And I was like, oh man, well, if he came like that, I got no excuse.
Yeah.
He came correct. I have to come correct too. I have to let it out, let it all hang out. And we would every time.
Yeah. Well, that's a really interesting statement that you made about, bringing it, and not from an egotistical standpoint, but, just pushing it, because, that's what you're hired to do. You're not hired to come in and perform to a third or a quarter or 75% of your capability. You're hired to do a job, and your job should be to do the best thing that you can do. To give it your all, and that's, I think sometimes that's the dark side of notoriety, and the dark side of working for someone that has a level of history. That sometimes we become too afraid of pissing people off. And I think that if it comes from that genuine place of, I'm not trying to show you up, I'm just trying to be me. And I talked to a couple guys that have also expressed that same thing. It's like sometimes it's hard for people to grasp the difference between
The difference.
Yeah. And the fact that you can do that, and then that kind of hug that says, "Hey man, this is just us. This is us balling." Yeah. No, and the thing is that because I always had my range, and I started working professionally at 18 years old, out of necessity, but I had this range already. I started getting calls to play professionally when I was 15. I picked up the trumpet when I was 11, but 15 was the first time I went out to the union, and I just was, messing around, and I had the range already, and people would hear that, they're hearing this kid, playing G's and A's and sometimes double C's, and, the guys that were in those rehearsal rooms weren't anywhere near that, so people would ask for my number, and I'd give them my number, but I'm 15, I'm living with my dad, so it's not like I got my own spot, Yeah.
So they would call, and my dad would be like, "Yeah, no, I don't think so." So he wouldn't let me work. But I technically started getting those calls at that age. So I had to wait until I was 18. But because I had that ability, and the thing is that I've never been. Maybe when I was I talk a lot of stuff, man. You know me. I like to joke around.
Yeah.
I'll talk a lot of mess, but I'm not gonna hurt your feelings. Or if something is that I'm doing or saying is gonna hurt your feelings, I'll stop immediately and I'll apologize, because that's not my trip. I don't like to do that to anybody, because it was done to me. Like I said, I was 18 years old. I'm working and I'm doing my thing. And all of a sudden, I remember this one guy. We were trading. He was in a salsa band. Amazing trumpet player. Great trumpet player, great singer, great lead player. Like one of those few guys that those hybrids like myself and others that have great lead chops and have great solo chops.
Yeah.
Right. But he was so insecure that anytime I played anything above him, he would turn around and start dogging me, right? And it's like, dude, I'm not. I don't understand where you're coming from. I don't get it. I thought we were making music. I thought it sounded cool. Yeah, man, but that's not cool, man, because I'm the lead player. You're making me look bad. But how am I making you look bad? Nobody knows that I'm the one doing it because you have the same chops. And he made me really hypersensitive towards the showboating just for the sake of showboating, as opposed to like trying to make music. Because he was like, he had no reason to be like that, but he was. But instead of taking a negative out of it, I decided to just like look at it as, oh, okay, I have to understand that not everybody has a thicker skin as I do.
Yeah.
And not everybody is as not as self-conscious as me. I've always been, if I hear somebody, I'm always cheering for them. If somebody that I like how they play, I'm cheering for them. I'm in the front row. I'm the biggest fan. I'm not the guy that's going to be like, oh yeah, he's good, but that's not my style. I don't like that.
Yeah.
That's another thing that I learned too from Maynard was that amazing gift he had of just being so free with the stage. So many people like that incident, and he was one of many that I came across in my younger years. Where it's like, no, I got it. No, I got it. And it's like, all right. I mean, I don't care. Like I told you, I'm a soldier. You want me to play low C's all day? As long as you pay me, I don't care.
Yeah.
But to think that you're so scared that somebody's going to take your job away that you'll stifle somebody else, that sucks to live in that kind of world.
Yeah.
And Maynard wasn't like that. And you've seen that throughout the years in all the videos. If it wasn't another trumpet player that was, a hot shot, it was a bass player that was awesome. It was a keyboard player. It was a drummer. Everybody. If you had talent and you were in that band because you had talent to begin with, you were going to get a chance to shine.
Yeah. And you go.
And
yeah, man, go back to the days like with Len Nicholson and the stuff that he was doing back in that era. Maynard's just like, wow, bravo.
Yeah, he was like in the front row going, he was his biggest supporter, his biggest fan.
Yeah,
and that was one of the biggest things that I kind of reaffirmed and took away from him is his loving, kind spirit.
Yeah,
I never came across a human being like that before that was so giving and so loving and so open to express his joy, because he was a joy to be around. Yeah. Even when he didn't feel good, he was still funny and awesome. And he was never a Debbie Downer. And there was definitely some times where it was getting nasty, and he had every right to be like, F you guys, never. He was always, and those are things more than musical things, I just learned how to be a good human being thanks to him.
Yeah.
Because like you said, this industry, it could really mess you up. There's a lot of darkness. There's a lot of insecurities, a lot of egos, and a lot of thievery, so you could get jaded very easily. And I know I was for a while, just being a working musician in town and dealing with some of the nonsense that you have to deal with, go up the chain of command, so to speak, go up the ladder.
Yeah.
In this working environment, it makes you dark, but that time that I spent with him really just lifted that burden off of me and kind of made me want to focus on different things and not the rat race. Because at that point I still had those aspirations. I want to be this high-end studio player and do all this stuff. And then kind of after my time with Maynard, it reminded me of why I like playing the trumpet. It was because I like the sound of the trumpet. I like improvising. I like playing in front of people, and I like making them happy. Mm-hmm. And I'm not gonna be able to do that where I was headed. And I even though I do it, and I like doing that too, because there's a certain artistry in being able to do that, living in that world, to be able to say 100 years from now, oh yeah, I recorded that. I mean, not that I'll be alive, but my kids or my grandkids, they're like, oh yeah, my grandfather recorded that solo. That's cool, to leave that kind of a legacy.
Yeah.
Which is why I like to do it as much as I do. but I like performing in front of people. The energy that you get, there's nothing like it. When you get in a really live audience that's giving you as much energy as you're putting out. There's nothing that comes close to that with clothes on.
Yeah, and sometimes without clothes too. So
Yeah.
yeah, I remember your outfits from the Zach Brown band. So
There you go. Watch out now.
got them chaps.
That's right. Trying to fit in with all them country boys, man.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I hear you. So when when you think back on your career, which I mean you're not you're not done with your career. I mean you're probably not even halfway through with the career at this point. And you're looking at some of the different things that have happened. The Poncho, the Maynard. You were out with Queen Latifah. You've done. You're talking about leaving your legacy in the studio. Your now legendary trumpet solo that you recorded. Every time that comes on, I'll go, "Oh, there's Serafin."
Oh my gosh! Every time I hear it, I hear coins falling.
Yeah. Residuals.
Man, I tell you, in this pandemic, those residual checks are helping. Every time I buy something for my kids with those, I go, Auntie Camilla just brought you this. Auntie Camilla just hooked you guys up with this vacation.
So for those of you who aren't
Auntie
hip,
Camilla just hooked you up with this steak.
yeah, for those of you who aren't hip to what we're talking about, if you are hip to the song Havana, and you've listened to that wonderful trumpet solo in it, which the first time I heard, I'm like, okay, yeah, cool trumpet solo, and then I heard the ending, I'm like, I wonder if I know this person. So you started to go off a little bit there, Dan. But so the trumpet solo in Havana is brought to you courtesy of Serafin. So I mean, what's that like? To be driving around or walking through a store and then hearing your sound coming out of the speakers on something that so many people have heard before.
Yeah, it's a little surreal. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. The whole experience is surreal. Okay, I guess we might as well talk about how that all happened, because the honest truth is that she called me. She cold called me out of the blue. Nobody, no management, no nothing. She called me, and me being the dumbass that I am, I have no pop culture sense. So I don't know. I just go in and I do stuff, and then if it happens, cool, whatever. I get paid and I leave, and there's a lot of things out there that I was like, wow, oh, I didn't know that person was famous, you know. But so with her, she called me, and she's very humble, nice young lady, and she says, hi, my name's Camilla, and I'd like you to do you do studio work? And I said, yeah. Well, what do you need? And she's well, I have this one song. It's missing something. I already recorded horns, but I want to record a trumpet solo. It's a Latin song. I go, sure thing. Why not? I gave her I didn't give her the homie rate because I didn't know who she was, So I gave her a standard issue, the union type rate for a demo. Actually, I gave her I gave her a demo rate, I think. I don't remember what demo rate is anymore. But it wasn't cheap. So I didn't know who she was. And I thought I was getting hosed. So she says, okay. I mean, she didn't even flinch. Okay, why don't you, I'm going to call you in a couple days and we're going to meet at such and such studio. So I was like, all right. A couple days goes by and then I get a text message. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm busy doing something else. I can't. We can't do it today. And I had canceled some students, some private lessons, some of my long timers, my old timers, that I like to protect. I usually will not do anything to accommodate them. So I was a little upset. So I called her up and I said, hey, listen, you want, I gave up some work for this. And, If you want me to come back, you're gonna have to compensate me for this work. She's like, oh, I'm so sorry. We got caught up. Yak, yak, yak. Very nice. Never once lost her temper. Never once told me to go to hell. And I said, well, this is what you owe me if you want me to come back. She goes, okay, no problem. That was a pretty big bill. Now I'm really thinking I'm getting hosed, right? Because it's like, who's going to just take that like that and just, So whatever. So the next week comes. She text messages me, here's the address. So I go and I do the thing, right? We sit there, and she's a very nice young lady. Her mother and father travel with her. I got to meet them and talk and hang out with them. They're more or less in my age range. She's a young lady, so it's quite a bit younger than me. And their parents are about my age, maybe a little bit older, a few years older than me. I could relate more to them. So I sat there, talked with them. Mom's Cuban, father's Mexican. We got on great. And then she says, hey, listen, so this is the song, right? And I heard it, and I go, oh, that's a pretty cool song. She goes, it's missing something. It's missing a trumpet solo. What can we do? So I listened to it, and I said, why don't you just let it play, and I'll improvise, and you tell me what you like. So the producer hit play, gave me a loop, that 4-bar loop. Yeah, so it's like 4 bars, right? And he just looped it, and I just recorded for like 20 minutes improvising. And that's really what happened. That's the way it went down. And then she was like, can we do this one part? I like this part here, but I want it to be the trumpet instead. I said, yeah, sure, whatever you want. And I said, right? She's like, can you play that on the trumpet for me? Yeah, sure. I played it. She goes, can you do it a little bit sassier? Yeah. She goes, can you do it more? We went through like 3 or 4 different versions of it. And she goes, okay, I like this one. Do this one again. And it was the one that I had done, the version that I had done for her. And that's what became the hook for the song. That right there. And then they took a part of my solo that I had recorded somewhere in there. And they put it after that,
Yeah.
And that's it. It's literally 25 minutes in and out. Spent most of that time talking with her about what she wanted, what the vibe was, what the feel for it, because it was just me improvising. And all of a sudden, she gives me my money. She says, "Here's an work for hire, to standard stuff that you have to sign when you do these things." And I said, "Cool," and she gave it to me cash. I was like, "God dang, all right, I like you." I'm out. I broke. All of a sudden, I said, "This is just a demo rate. If it gets picked up, you owe me some more money." She goes, "Oh, don't worry. We do everything by the book." All right, okay with that. So maybe she said, "I'll know within a week." So 2 weeks, so the week I come home and I tell my family, and everybody's jaw hit the floor. And I was like, "What?" They're like, "You don't know who that is?" I go, "Guys, I listen to Freddie Hubbard. Do you think I'm gonna know who this is? I listen to Freddie Hubbard and John Coltrane. That's about as far as I go into the music, and Earth, Wind and Fire. I have no idea who this little girl is." And I shouldn't say little girl. Sorry, Camilla. This young lady. So they're like, and they started showing me videos from. I guess she was part of a group called Fifth Harmony or something. Fifth Harmony. There's a girl group that Simon Cowell put together for one of those competitions, They won and they were huge. And she was going to break off and do her own solo thing. And they were blowing her up, gassing her up. And it was kind of like I was walking into alternate reality, because at that point I realized that she was all over the place, all around me. I just didn't know who she was. I wasn't paying attention. But a commercial here, song there, all kinds of stuff. And then I kind of got a little pale. I was like, oh, my God. I was thinking to myself, thank goodness I practiced and warmed up right before I went in and played, and I didn't make a jerk of myself. But yeah, so a week went by, she didn't call, and all of a sudden 2 weeks go by, and I get a call from this lawyer, and he's just going down this list of all these things, and I'm like, wait, slow down, whoa, who are you? Oh, I'm Camila Cabello's lawyer, and we need to get your information because we need to send you paperwork from Epic, and we need so we can get your release, so we can release the song. I'm like, what song? So that song you recorded for Camilla, it's gonna be released tomorrow. And I was like, oh, okay. Send the paperwork over. You faxed it. I signed it, and they said like triple or quadruple scale. I mean, it was very nice, along with points and stuff. And I'm very, very, very generous. It's amazing. So fast forward to like 2 days later, and I'm just like driving, and I didn't know the whole song because really all I heard was the hook and the chord changes, right? With the
Right.
rhythm section. That's all I heard because that's all we were working on. I didn't hear the whole song. So I didn't know what the song sounded like. So all of a sudden, I'm driving in the car and I hear the song. And I go, nice song. And then I heard myself, I was like, oh, cool. And then the next, like 5 minutes later, the same song again. I changed the station. I don't want to hear that anymore. That station's playing it. Oh man, what's going on? Next station. That station's playing it. All of a sudden, my phone goes off. Hey man, did you record something for Camila Cabello? And I was just getting inundated everywhere from phone calls, emails, because for a long time that song was everywhere.
Yeah.
You couldn't get away from it. It was, I mean, it was in commercials. A huge commercial, that MasterCard commercial that got released. Was it for the Grammys a year or two ago? The huge MasterCard commercial, and she's walking and the solo break, it stops and all of a sudden it's just me. So it's like it's nerve wracking. I'm just happy that I didn't put my foot in my mouth, and play like crap. But I guess had I known what I was getting into, I might have got I might have got jittery. So I think that was God looking out for me and saying, it's all right, you don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But it's an amazing experience.
Yeah. But that speaks to your work ethic, because a lot of people, whether it's somebody that's playing on the level that you're playing on on the big stage, or whether it's just a local grunt like me, that people tend to want to either play up or play down to the situation. So it's like, it's just this gig. It's just this person. They're only two people in the audience, and they don't bring their A game. And the one thing that I know about you is that it doesn't matter what the situation is. You're always going to just do your absolute best. You're going to bring your talents to the table, whether you think it's for playing for a song that's gonna be that big, or whether it's just a project that somebody some kid is just paying you a few $100 to come and record the solo. You're going to do your best every time, and I think that is an attribute that we all can learn from and try to apply. So want to just let you know that your hard work is appreciated, and
Thank you, man.
karma's
Thank you
coming
so
back
much,
for
Jose.
you, man. Karma's coming back to you.
Well, I love what I do. I'll be the first to tell you that I'm so fortunate, and I feel so lucky and blessed that I get to do this. This is I don't take it for granted ever.
Yeah.
That I get to make a living making music, having fun. I have a career, whereas other people might not be as fortunate as me and might not necessarily care for what they do, but it's an ends to a means for them,
Yeah.
a means to an end for them.
Yeah.
Right. This is it. This is what I love doing. For the first moment I got my hand on the trumpet, it felt right in my hand, and I just eased into working as a professional musician. And every playing opportunity that I always had, and I will probably ever have, I've always given 100%. Whether it's a rehearsal when I was in junior high school, or whether it was on the Grammy stage, doesn't matter. To me, they're all the same. It's an opportunity for me to make music. I like what I do. and I like that I'm able to bring happiness and joy to people with it. Uh, and that's probably the biggest incentive, more than the lucrative part of it, is we live in such a messed up world that eh, there's got to be people in the world that bring happiness and joy to other people's lives,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like my secret mission in life to be able to play stuff and see people smile and dance, and or somebody hears a crazy note, they're like, to see them happy. That makes me feel complete.
Yeah.
In what I get to do. It really, it doesn't get any better than that. Yeah, I get paid good money to do what I do, but really, when I see somebody geeking out, when I see somebody enjoying it, or when I play recordings for people and they're like, "Oh, that's cool," and it's from a completely non-egotistical standpoint. It's not me saying, "Oh, look at me, look at me." No, it's more like me looking at you enjoying yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah.
And that's why it doesn't matter. There's sometimes I have friends that are high school band directors. Hey man, I want you to come over and rattle these kids' cages. Hell yeah, I'll be the first one there. I'll go over there and I'll scare the pants off of these kids. And I like to look at them and see them. They're like, but that's what I want. I want them to be like, this is the same feeling that I felt when I heard that Maynard tape for the first time. I want them to feel that. It might not be as impressive, but in their eyes, in their mind, it'll create that same effect, and maybe that'll get them to practice harder.
Yeah.
And I like that. If I can get somebody to get into this more, and be a emissary for happy stuff, then I did my job right.
Yeah.
I do this thing in February for Black History Month called Jazz Appreciation. Jazz in the Schools is what it's called. And for a month straight, me and my buddies, through the union and another organization, we go to elementary schools in LAUSD, and we teach them about the history of this music from the beginning to modern times. And I have the distinct honor of not only getting to talk about our trumpet and talk about some of the major proponents of this instrument, Miles Davis and Louis Armstrong and Dizzy Gillespie, but at the end of it, I get to talk about what my culture has brought to the music, to jazz, I guess, if you want to call it, or if you want to call it Black American music. Get to tell them about how the music has progressed, but it's still the same.
Yeah.
From how it's progressed from or how it started, with Oye Como Va from Tito Puente to Oye Como Va becoming a worldwide hit with Santana, and how now here we have a young lady in modern times still playing those rhythms.
Yeah.
And it turns those kids on every time. Every time they see, we go, through the motions of the other stuff. But when we get to that stuff right there, and I'm able to show that connection from old, what they consider old people music, to modern music, it flips them out.
Yeah.
And I see the sparks, and I see kids waking up and going, "Oh man, that's cool." They walk out like this. Going, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. That's my thing."
Yeah, that's cool. That's real cool. Well, we spent a lot of time tonight, but I do want to end. I always end with the same thing, which is a series of rapid fire questions.
Alrighty.
All right, and this used to call this speed studies. This has been renamed the rapid fire round. That's brought to us by my good friends and sponsor, Robinson's Remedies. So this is the Robinson's Remedies rapid fire round. So,
all right.
Yep, there you go. It's like living in Compton.
Oh yeah.
So here we go. These questions are going to be all over the board. Give me your quickest answers. You can call a lifeline if you need to. Who's the biggest influence in your life that is not a trumpet player?
What that started me off on the right path was my band director, Mr. Tony Felice. He was a man's man. He taught me a lot about just. I have a father, but he wasn't necessarily the most, and it's too long of a story to get into, but he wasn't there for me as much as he could have been. So Mr. Felice was a very is a very pragmatic and very upfront and strong person who was able to uh, hone me down from the crazy kid that I was into being more of a respectable person. He's like yourself. He's a has a karate dojo and is a master at his craft. No, I'm sorry, not karate, kung fu. And so he would have all these sayings on the walls, and I just read them every day. And he'd point at one and explain it to me. Or, I mean, sometimes when I had to, he'd kick my ass, and he wouldn't let me do things, and he'd bench me, even at the expense of the program, but just to teach me a lesson. So, as far as my development, somebody that I look up to, and somebody that I think was fundamental in helping me be who I am, it would have to be him.
Cool. Sounds like a great man. What is your favorite book?
Ooh. I'm a Tolkien buff, so take your choice. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis. C.S. Lewis, Mere Christianity. That's an amazing book.
Okay.
But right now, my favorite book is the Bible. I'm getting into it big time, and I love it.
All right. What's the worst movie you've ever seen?
Eee. Man, you're getting me. You're getting the other side of my brain here, man. We were over
See?
here somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Worst movie I've ever seen. I don't know that I'm not much of a movie guy. Uh, Maybe The Exorcist. I don't know. Or it's kind of lame.
Yeah. Okay. If you weren't a trumpet player, what would you want to be?
That's a funny one. I always wanted to be a veterinarian. Before I found the trumpet, my life's goal was to be a veterinarian. I love animals.
Okay. Well, being a trumpet player, you do have to deal with plenty of horses' asses. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of the same thing.
Yes, sir.
What's your favorite drink?
Uh, uh, I love bourbon. We're talking about alcohol, right?
Whatever, man. A drink is a drink.
A drink is a drink. I love red wine. Um, uh,
All right, so let's go back to that bourbon. So, if you're going to drink a bourbon, what's your go-to bourbon?
Noah's Mill. Actually, Booker's right now.
Booker's. Okay.
Booker's.
Booker's is
Booker's
decent.
and Booker's and a daily. My daily go-to would be like, I'm simple, man. Wild Turkey 101.
101 is a good price performer.
That's what it's a price point thing at that point
Yeah.
because it's like you're getting a lot of bang for your buck,
Yeah.
and it tastes good enough. But if I really want to sit down and like enjoy myself, it's gonna be with Booker. Definitely gonna be with Booker.
Yeah. I'm on the Willet kick right now. I'm drinking a lot of Willet. Single,
Really?
single still. Yeah.
I also another one that's good for the price point is Woodford.
Yeah. Woodford's a little too thin for me.
Really?
It's a little too thin.
And I gotta thank the guys in Zach's band for that because we used to drink that by the gallon over there. That and cigars, man. After the show, they would just bring out just
Oh, yeah.
vats.
That is the life right there, man. Yeah. Yeah. I
But they hit me to that for sure.
Actually, the last time we actually had a physical hang, it was when you were touring with Zach, and we were smoking cigars out in the parking lot in Hershey. We didn't
Yeah,
have
that's
the
right.
bourbon, unfortunately. But
That was the last time I saw Pepka too.
yeah. Miss that dude.
Yeah, me too, man.
All
He's a
right.
good guy.
You could have a dinner party, and you can invite any 3 living people on the face of the earth. Who would those 3 people be?
Jordan Peterson, uh, my band director, just because I'd like to see them go at it. They're polar opposites. And I'm not sure. I couldn't say living, maybe Winton.
Okay, that'd be a good dinner party. You're going to invite three additional people, but they are people from history. They're people that are no longer in the land of the living.
Same dinner?
Same dinner.
Definitely have to put Coltrane in there. Wouldn't mind getting Young in there. And C.S. Lewis.
Okay. Some interesting talk there. Young would be
A lot of spiritual stuff going on in that conversation.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, lacquer plated or raw?
For the horns, I like raw. They all have their. I think I have a brilliant sound, so I go for lacquer.
Okay.
I prefer lacquer, and that was Maynard's trip too. He always preferred lacquer horns because he knew his sound was bright and he wanted to have a warmer sound. So with the lacquer, you have more weight on the horn. It deadens the horn a little bit more. Yeah. Raw would be obviously the lightest and the most brilliant. And I have one. I have a beautiful horn that Bach made for me. That's raw brass, but for that reason, I wanted to have zinc because it's a bit of a darker horn. It's a 65 bell on a 38 body. It's a huge horn, so it needs a little bit of zip to it. But I mean, my horn, my workhorse, which is my Con 8B, that's lacquer.
Yeah.
You know, even though I could get a silver one, I prefer the versatility of being able to warm it up with the lacquer.
Yeah.
Mouthpiece gold plated though.
All right. What's your favorite quote?
Favorite quote? Man, I just posted one that was pretty awesome by Voltaire. That's what I've been vibing on. Roughly paraphrasing, it's if anyone who can make you believe fallacies will make you commit atrocities. Basically, is what it is.
Yeah.
You know, in the current climate that we live in, we have to be careful what we listen to, who we listen to, and if we fall for it, then we might be in the process of making some huge mistakes. You know, so
Yeah.
have to look at things from the heart, from a spiritual sense.
That's very true. Very true. All right. What's your greatest fear?
My greatest fear? Not having done enough to help others.
Okay. You are going to be granted one superpower. What would it be?
One superpower?
One superpower.
Gosh. I don't know, man. Give me some of that Wolverine healing factor. I'm all about that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There you go. What aspect of trumpet playing do you feel is the most overrated?
The upper register.
Okay. What aspect of trumpet playing do you feel is the most underrated?
A good, clean, pristine trumpet sound. There's too many people going on opposite directions. I believe that the trumpet has a certain sound that has a thick, rich core, but has brilliance to it as well. And I hear either brilliance or core with no brilliance at all, or completely muddled sounds. You know, some of the jazz guys are kind of going off the deep end, trying to make things sound darker and darker, but it just sounds diffused to me. The most beautiful sound to me is that of a pristine, full sound, all the overtones with some brilliance to it, like Freddie, like Doc Simonson, with gorgeous sound. Maynard live had a gorgeous sound. It's unfortunate that I don't know why, but it was never able to be captured properly. So Maynard was one of those things that if you got a glimpse of it in recordings, but it was something else to hear it live
Yeah.
because the man had a huge sound, huge, and maybe he's just recording equipment can't capture all of it because it was huge. But I've never heard anybody sound like that.
Yeah.
Nobody, and I've stood next to all of them, and none of them come close to him. The amount of volume he would produce, the sound was as big as a wall. I mean, cover a whole section. But it had also that sparkle. It was just that sparkliness, It wasn't a tinny small sound like some people would have you believe. So yeah, just having that type of sound, full core with brilliance to it. That's what I think. When I think trumpet, that's the image that I get in my head.
Yeah. Okay, cool. You're able to go back in time and give your younger self one piece of advice about music. What would it be?
Don't lose sight of who you are.
Okay. And while you're there, you're going to give yourself one piece of advice about life.
Don't compromise for anybody.
Okay. And finally, what do you want your legacy to be?
I want people to know that my main purpose in life was to bring joy to others. Um, whether it's through my music or through whatever other thing, through intellectual conversation, through jokes, shenanigans. I for I want people to be okay, no matter what.
Yeah.
And I try to do my best to do that for people. So I want people to know that at the end, that's all I ever wanted for anybody that came into my life was for them to be a better person for having known me.
All right. Well, my friend, I have to say that I certainly feel my life is better having met you, and I really appreciate our friendship. And I really miss talking with you. And
Yeah, I know.
we've had some great times in the past, and I know we're going to have some great times in the future. So I really appreciate you taking time to share your thoughts and your experiences with me and with the listeners and the viewers, since we're in two different formats. So,
Yeah.
it's seriously, man, your love for music comes through in everything. And, you do make it a better place for us all. So thanks. And just, keep up the good work, man. Keep fighting the fight.
Thank you, Jose. I appreciate the kind words, and that's very comforting to know. And I appreciate our friendship throughout the years, and the jokes,
Yeah.
all the late night messing around and sharing of stories and whatnot. And I appreciate the opportunity to come and be able to talk to you and your audience and share a little bit about myself and hopefully maybe some of it will make sense to somebody and help them out.
Yeah, that's all we can hope for at the end of the day. Like you said, making the world a little bit better just because we're here. So
Yeah.
I hope that you enjoyed this episode. And if you need to get a hold of Serafin, you can find him on Instagram. You can find him on Facebook. You can find him on the street corner.
That's right.
Take care of business. I am happy to find out that I just found out that Netflix now has rights to all of the Chappelle shows. So,
Ooh.
so they're
Making more money, Dave.
Yeah, they making money. So
I'm happy for that, man.
yeah. Oh
He
man.
deserves it. They put him through the ringers,
Yeah. Yeah, some great humor fodder right there. So anyway, thank you all for spending some time with us. And if you ever need any questions answered about ways that you might be able to get yourself, your chops straightened out if you're having some problems, certainly reach out to Serafin. I know he does Skype lessons and things like that. So, and keep an eye out for his upcoming projects, particularly the educational stuff that he was talking about earlier in the episode, because I know it's going to be some real serious stuff that'll really help you out. So with that being said, as always, peace and slide grease. We're out. Hey, thank you so much for hanging with us today. This podcast is all about creating connection through our mutual love for the trumpet life. I hope that you learned a few things about today's guest and had some laughs along the way. Don't forget to give us a review. We love those 5-star ratings. And please share this podcast with your friends. We want to see our hang grow for show. Have a suggestion for a future topic or a guest? Hit me up at thetrumpetgurus@gmail.com. Our opening theme was written and performed by Lexi Signor, and all other music comes courtesy of The Greatest Funeral Ever. So in the words of W.C. Handy, life is like a trumpet. If you don't put anything into it, you don't get anything out. So go out there and let your trumpet sound. And I'll see you at the next hang.